Hey guys, it's Matt. Welcome back to the Fool-osophers series, Fool, F-O-O-L, Osophers series. Now this is one of the giants of philosophy. Rene, I worked on this for 20 minutes. Rene Descartes. You pronounce the T, not just Descartes. You don't just let everything go in the French. Rene Descartes. Rene Descartes. That's about the best I can do, being from Philadelphia. Before, when it was $50, it was Rene Descartes. And if you're on the other side of Aramingo Avenue or West Oak Lane, it's Rene Descartes. So it took me a long time. We're gonna dive into him today, and as usual, there's some incredible things. Some of these think, oh, look at him. That's I didn't know he was gonna pop up so soon. It'll go off in a second. It'll go off in a second if you're eating. You weren't a bad-looking man, sir, and maybe the painter didn't do so well. They brought some incredible thinking to the table. But remember, for them to be carried through time with the fame and notoriety that they carry, they have to be in many ways stuffed Lenins and Humpty Dumptys of the not milk. If they actually brought a thinking to the table that real people could use to break free of this system, then that philosopher would have probably been pushed aside a long time ago. So overall, without me spending weeks and weeks diving into everything he ever wrote, in general, if he's pushed to the forefront by Not Milk as one of the pillars of philosophy, then I would say overall he's doing something that the Not Milk wants, not typically working for us. So maybe we can tie in the AI and what's coming into his most famous little slogan you've heard of. If I don't know, I'll butcher this, but whatever. If it's from Philly, it's $50. Cogito. That sounded Japanese. Cogito ergo, don't even try, Matt, ergo sum. Cogito ergo sum. And no, I'm not going to spend time on those websites or those YouTube channels, that the guy that tells you how to pronounce everything. How to pronounce. I'm not going to do that. Whatever. That's I think, therefore I am. And they're going to bring this guy's spiritually broke ass back now that the AI is they're going to say that AI has reached AGI and AI has reached cogito ergo sum. So look, I'll be as objective as I can. But overall, if it's somebody that's just as famous today as they were hundreds of years ago, then the Not Milk wants it that way. And they did a lot of good things for Not Milk. So sorry, I'm not putting you on the team. Now, the old guard has heard this before, but in case anybody's new, I have to do this at the opening of each one that we highlight in the Fool-osophers series. Who the hell are you, this narrator? You think you were smarter than Rene Descartes? You think you were smarter than Aristotle? You think you were smarter? And I'm going to say it again. No, absolutely not. But we have a better understanding of reality, not because we're smarter, because reality has completely flashed us and given itself away to us. It's like playing cards, and I'm not a good poker player. What if I could just see right through the cards? That's what reality has done. Rene didn't have that advantage. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's writing on his own, and he's not a complete puppet of Not Milk. Let's just leave that aside for now. We are in the superior advantage to explaining to Rene at this point how reality works. Times about 1,000,000. Not because we're smarter, because it has shown us everything we need to know. I'm going to assume Rene didn't have our advantages. So no, I'm not smarter. But could I be in a better position to analyze whether he understood reality based on all that we know now? Absolutely. Unless reality is, Matt, you're missing one thing. The reality that you know, you continue to say is shifted, and it flows, and it's fluid, and it's not the same reality. We have to keep that on the table. But I can only assume, for doing this sort of Fool-osophers series, that generally Rene lived in the reality that we know. That if he hold a brick out and he dropped it on his foot, that it would hurt in the same way that it would hurt now. Of course, it could have been a different reality, or more fluid, or these things happen in this strange place. But I can't. If you toss in that variable, there's no point in even doing this series. So yes, I can decide whether he was right or wrong, because all of us here listening understand 1,000 more times more about how this reality works, not because we're smarter, because it has shown us everything. For some reason, it had to give itself away. So off to the right here, and this portrait is certainly better than the one we just looked at from a flattery standpoint. Born the 31st of March, 1596. Could you imagine? There wasn't no Starbucks coffee. There wasn't no Dunkin' Donuts. 1596. Died February 11th, 1650, age 50. 3. Oh my gosh, I'm 55. And what did Uma Thurman in Dangerous Liaisons, and John Malkovich was just about 41 at the time. He's an old man. Another that she was trying to was she no she wasn't even talking about John Malkovich. I think she was being arranged to marry some baron or something who was about 41, and Uma Thurman said, "He's an old man." Well, imagine what she would think of me. Rene didn't even live to be 54. My God. Okay, at the top, general overview, 1 minute or less before we dive into the particulars. And in terms of pronunciation, guys, Rene Descartes, the more your French is good, the T will trail off. The more you're, say, from Aramingo Avenue in Philadelphia, the more you emphasize the T. So it's still better than Descartes, but Rene Descartes. If it's not a big, heavy T on the back end, that's anybody from Europe would say, "Oh, you're from the eastern part of the United States, aren't you?" Yeah, Rene Descartes, and it's not Descartes. The T is there. It just trails off a bit. Okay, forget that. Enough on the name, Matt. Sorry. Was a French philosopher, scientist, mathematician, widely considered a seminal figure in the emergence of modern philosophy and science. Yeah, Dad, you told us. Mathematics was paramount to his method of inquiry. That's a mistake right there. You cannot use math to figure out reality other than using it to demonstrate a false reality. So right there, I'm suspect. Last sentence. Descartes spent much of his working life in the Dutch Republic. How unfortunate. Initially serving the Dutch state's army and later becoming a central intellectual of the Dutch Golden Age. They keep talking about the age of Renaissance and the golden age. Nothing, even up through now, there hasn't ever been a golden age. It's all been Kali Yuga. It's all been. So you threw your bedpan out the window and you think that's the golden age? You throw your bedpan out the window and somebody landed on somebody's head? Not the bedpan itself, but what was inside the bedpan? And you think that's the golden age? Let me tell you what. If a bunch of urine lands on somebody in the street, it's not the golden age, dude. Sorry. Many elements of Descartes' philosophy have precedence in late, Aristotelianism. And that must be related to means related to Aristotle. I'm not you smart guy, the narrator of this. The revived Stoicism. Oh no, Stoicism. Oh God, we're going to have to look at that. What a lost group of sheep of the 16th century, or in earlier philosophers like Augustine, I don't know. In his natural philosophy, he differed from the schools on two major points. First, he rejected the splitting of corporeal substance into matter and form. Second, he rejected any appeal to final ends, divine or natural, in explaining natural phenomena. Does anybody listening to me understand one word that was just said? I've been looking at this quite a while. I don't understand none of it. This is interesting what's in front of me. I'll read it to you. But before that, this painting is entitled Descartes in Conversation with Queen Christina of Stockholm. Stockholm, I know that's not a good pronunciation. That's Sweden to you people from Philly, not Switzerland. That's Descartes off to the right. It looks like Count Dracula, and that off the table to the right, in the middle there, that must be Queen Christina, unless they have the same problem back then that we have now with the restrooms. Maybe Queen Christina is on the left, but I don't think so. It says here, knowledge in Descartes' day was a bizarre mixture of fact and imagination, myth and the occult, religious dogma and wild conjecture. Renaissance science still included astrology and alchemy and had an obsession with patterns and resemblances. See, they run that down. They make it seem like, we have to get rid of all that. Renaissance quotes science. They actually have it in quotes, of course. Still included astrology and alchemy. These are the roots of how the reality really works. See, science had to push all that out. So you get the broken science, or the deformed, retarded science today of Mitch Pikachu and Neil of the Grass Fed. They're saying it was all mixed, it was all convoluted back in Descartes' day. It was those elements that probably allowed Descartes to think big the way he did. I mean, yeah, they push it all out. They push the real understanding of reality out, alchemy and astrology. And to finish, Paracelsus, 1493, a Swiss physician who made original important discoveries in medical treatment, could still think in terms of occult parallels. That's right. Occult, the mysteries of how this world really works. I know I'm the first grade secret society, the first grade truth or first grade truth. They see this is interesting. They Descartes had a lot of these philosophies part of his belief set. Of course, all that has to be pushed out as you get into the modern scientist. In 1629, Descartes was writing a work on natural phenomena called The World, which suggested that the universe might well have the sun at the center. But in 1630, oh no, 1633, there it is. He heard of Galileo's house arrest in Italy for suggesting the same thing, and so he wisely postponed publication of his own work. So this modern not-milk system used Descartes to prop up the new heliocentric philosophy to usher in with Galileo and others. We had never before known to assign it to Descartes, but now this is what comes out. And you don't think I'm taking a side of splat or flat versus heliocentric? You think I would take a side? It's all an illusion. It's all bullshit. To take a side on shape or to say this is the way the solar system works and to take a side, to pick a side is always wrong. Let me repeat that. In this reality, to pick a side or to definitively say it's this shape or that it's definitely this or that is always wrong. This is a fluid reality, Mandela-affected mess, and it is never one or the other. I know this is blurry. I'll read it to you. We're just going to look at the first sentence anyway. In 1616, Galileo, in Philly is Galileo, was ordered by the Roman Inquisition to abandon heliocentrism. Galileo, you abandoned, what'd you say, boy? The sun's at the center? Now, does anybody really think that the powers that be were trying to quiet these people? Does a first grade truther believe that or whatever? It doesn't make, even the first grade truther is illogical in this sense. Oh, they tried to quiet them. No, it sets up a story that supports the bullshit of today. That the bullshit of today, it's not the only reason it's so widely accepted, what the solar system is, what the universe is, because the powers that be tried to quiet it down, and the religion, the church tried to hold on to geocentrism. Oh, sure. It's just a story that makes the bullshit today of Mitch Pikachu more powerful, that they tried to hold on to the old ways, which means the new ways are so, that it's both. What does that mean for anybody that studied reality, for the old guard here? It means, what you going to pick showcase number one, the Earth is the center, geocentrism, or are you going to pick showcase number two, heliocentrism? You know what we do? We don't even bid a dollar. We leave the freaking showcase show. We walk out. We don't want those showcases. We're not even going to bid a dollar. It's all a false choice in this reality. Did you understand the words coming out of my mouth, Descartes? Well, Matt, it has to be one or the other, what you believe the universe is or what the solar system is. And the old ways say geocentrism and the new ways say heliocentrism. And the flat turfers or the splat turfers, the flat people, they would, I guess, are they geocentric people? The Earth is the center, right? But see, if the first grader, as they graduate up, 5th grade, 6th grade, as you get close to, you learn that it's never, like I said a few minutes ago, I'm sorry to repeat myself, but this is very important. It's never about its two choices. Is the Earth at the center or if the sun is at the center? If this debate goes back and forth for hundreds of years, I know, based on this reality and how it has to work, how it's shown itself to me, it's never then one or the other. It's a blend of both at the same time. It's not very real. It's fluid. It's Mandela affected. If it presents two choices, and I'm sure there's a few examples and people will put in the comments, if it presents two choices as to how reality works like this, is it, you got to pick one, boy, geocentric or heliocentric? I say, oh, you're presenting me with two choices? Then I know for a fact it's neither, and it's both at the same time, and that's not a real world. Oh no, look what I found. They have Descartes' home or where he was born labeled. The Knock loves this. Look at the bottom left, where Descartes was born in Lahaina and Touraine. I mean, they've actually, I looked into this, guys. They've changed the name from Lahaina and Touraine to Descartes. The city in France is called Descartes. And they got his picture, his face, plastered on the side of the building. Now, guys, the old guard will know what I'm about to say. This is like a UNESCO World Heritage Site. When they have to do this sort of thing, which creates one of the ultimate portrayals of the Humpty Dumpty or the stuffed Lenin, where they have to show you where the person was born and label the house, that means it's very important to not milk. And if it wasn't, it would be long forgotten about. That means, Descartes, thou art a villain for the not milk. Now, there are a lot of outward presentations by the not-milk that give away this sort of favoritism. For example, the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. UNESCO. Is there anything more low in this world than something associated with the UN or the United Nations? So if something is labeled a UNESCO World Heritage Site and they want to draw attention to it, my default is it served not milk. Do you think UNESCO would do a World Heritage Site if there was a site around the world that actually people were becoming free and breaking free of the system or moving away on their own and becoming self-sufficient? No, of course. The UNESCO, which is not milk, would never call attention to it. So I think it's the same way when they always will show you, oh, this was where William Shakespeare was born and this is where he wrote his plays. It's all part of either the not milk story, if it's completely false and made up, or if it could be completely real, but it's something, someone, or at least in the case of UNESCO, a region that in some way served not milk. I'd be surprised if there are any, let's just say, exceptions to either one. I can't imagine the not milk calling attention to something with a plaque, or this is where this person was born, or this is a World Heritage Site, that truly wasn't serving not milk. I just can't imagine that exists, but I haven't been over all of them. Well, Matt, maybe there's an exception to your rule right here. Look at the last sentence. This plaque identifies the city as a masterpiece of human creative genius, whose protection must be the concern of all. Well, maybe there were some great ideas that were actually generated if they could be used by free people to make things better, but the not milk used it to increase their own power or to increase the invisible slave system or its outreach, whatever it may be. Look at, what is it, A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe, John Nash. His collusion formulas. Remember in the bar, he says, the only way we all get laid, the only way we all get girls is if nobody goes for the blonde. Adam Smith, incomplete. He said Adam Smith was wrong. Adam Smith, it's not self-interest. We all go for the same thing. We all do what benefits ourselves and everybody else at the same time. Now that could be used on a farm, right? I'm not saying in and of itself it's evil. The not milk used the John Nash theories and formulas to create the collusion that exists today. In and of itself, it's not evil. So I don't care what city of Bath somebody sprung a heart on for the first time or whatever. The not milk used the creative genius that came from real spiritual beings in the city of Bath to further its slave system. I'm saying on its own it's false. Aren't you understanding that, sir? Ron, I'm tired. Why we gotta find this house where Rene Descartes was born? You promised me baguettes in French restaurants. I don't care where Rene Descartes was born. Honey, he's a major inspiration to me. The house has got to be right around here somewhere. He's my hero. I've read all his philosophy my entire... Honey, if it's not in... We don't find it in the next 10 minutes, I'm leaving. I'm taking the cab back to the hotel. You promised me French restaurants and baguettes and real champagne, not this sparkling wine you get at home. Here's something where I'll take the opportunity to praise Descartes and give him credit. Descartes believed that there could be a new kind of systematic scientific procedure. He tried to explain this by comparing knowledge, all general knowledge, to a tree. The roots are metaphysics, the trunk physics itself. The branches emerging from the trunk are all the other sciences, like mathematics as a branch, anatomy, geometry, alchemy he has as a branch, philosophy, and astronomy. Yes, the only way to understand this is to bring it all together. That's what modern science and Neil of the Grass-Fed roots out everything but his own dogma. Root out the alchemy, root out the occult nature, root out the mysticism. You need all of it to understand this reality. This is Matt talking. Matt, I didn't think it was Descartes, you jackass. Sorry. It says here, Descartes was groping towards the kind of human activity we now call science. This is why some of the key words used by Descartes are confusing to modern readers. The words science and philosophy are often indistinguishable in his works and can mean all kinds of knowledge that we nowadays would no longer call scientific. That's right. The important elements that we need for an understanding, the new science or of the Mitch Pikachu science is to weed it all out. Get rid of the astrology and that's all kid stuff. Look at the balloon boy. You believe in astrology? Root out all the occult stuff and all the mysticism, which is absolutely necessary to understand this place. He says, he did not make the same kind of rigid distinctions that we now do between philosophy and science. Okay, well, Matt, if this is so monumentally important and accurate, well, why are you saying these are all not milk? Okay, I'm not saying he chose to serve the not milk. I'm saying he had a process, a thinking process, or things he came up with, or philosophy, or observations of the universe that the not milk used to increase its strength and its hold on this world. I'm not saying he loved the not milk and was bowing down before it and how can I serve you? He may have been trying his best on his own to do whatever. I'm saying if the not milk pushes his plaque and here's where he was born and pushes him forward in university classes, he was just like John Nash in his collusion theory. He was very important to the not milk in increasing its own power. Not that he was trying to increase the not milk's power. Do you understand the distinction that I'm making there? Some are pure villains that are serving not milk and know what they're serving. I don't know if he, I don't want him rolling around. I don't know if he was trying to serve the not milk or not. But because of the not milk's endless praise of the man, he did serve not milk, just like John Nash's collusion theory in A Beautiful Mind with Jennifer Connelly. All right, look at this. Let me read this section. Just when I thought Rene was doing something useful, then he goes off the wrong path again, and he's trying to mimic Neil of the Grass-Fed. Reduction to mathematics. Descartes hoped to show that there was an underlying unity to all the different branches of knowledge. Here they go again. Why do they all have to do this? Unify, bring everything into a single mathematical equation. That's what that little villain in his chair, what was his name? Stephen Hawking. Remember the theory of everything? He tried to unify everything into one mathematical equation. Why? What's the point of why are you trying to do that? Because it gets everybody to focus on the outside world as usual, not on consciousness. That's the main underlying not milk point in all this is focus on the outside world. Explain it through a mathematical equation. What'd you say? It came from consciousness? That's ridiculous. That's the last thing they want you thinking. They're always trying to unify. It says, but what was this unity? There was a growing belief amongst astronomers and scientists that mathematics, or the Europeans would say that maths, that doesn't make any sense to an American, that math or direct observation rather than Aristotle or the Bible might be the keys to understanding what the universe was like. He trashed Aristotle and the Bible in the same sentence. I'm with Aristotle and the Bible on this, of course. Can't unify everything down to Stephen Hawking's idiotic little retarded math equation. Mathematics expresses the basic fundamental structure shared by all branches of knowledge. Exactly. Exactamundo, Rene. Therefore, you then say this underlying fabric of reality proves a false world. All of it, math couldn't explain everything and all the different branches of knowledge. Then it's a false world. How does a perfect math come from a Big Bang? Well, you didn't know about no Big Bang back then, so I'll give you a break. Well, it's good you didn't know about it because it would have thrown you off because it's nothing more than a lie and a deception. Now, don't gloss over what I just read and how idiotic the belief system of many of these philosophers were back in the day. Let me read it again to you. It says, there was a growing belief amongst astronomers and scientists that mathematics or direct observation might be the keys to understanding what the universe was like. That's the last thing you should do. Direct observation, experiment through the 1% that your senses can take in, experiment with information and readouts and empirical evidence that comes in from the false reality and comes in from the lie itself to get you to believe something about reality and, more importantly, to get you to disbelieve something about yourself, that you're a spiritual being. Direct observation, that's never the way to understand anything. Richard Feynman, if it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. No, if it agrees with experiment, it's coming from the not milk, you idiots. You guys want to play hot or not? That's it. Hot or not, the game. He's not too bad, is he? Let me just put this out to the ladies. Imagine this, okay? It's a blind date. It's a first date, but blind. Back before all this internet crap. Say it was the 70s. And you got there first. And we need to seat you, ma'am. The tables are going so quick tonight. If we don't seat you now, you might not have a table when you're a man. You're not my man. It's just a first date. We got to seat you. Okay, bring me a gin and tonic. You're sitting there 5-10 minutes. And then this man, this man shows up as your date. Now, what would you do? Well, he has kind. Some of you, he has kind eyes. That'd be interesting. It actually he looks right out of Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco in the '70s. Or as many of you would say, he would say, "Are you Susan?" No, I'm not Susan. But I was told, I have no idea. I'm waiting for my cousin Ginny. I have no idea who you are. Who you are, and then go into the bath. So Matt, this is the Fool-osopher is the damn narrator. Sorry. Okay, guys, if you're new here, all that stuff in the last section. It seems complicated to some. It's so simple, guys, okay? We're smarter than all these philosophers. We are, because it's all one sentence. We know this now. It gave itself away to us. We're not smarter. All the philosophers trying to understand the outside world. That's the last thing you should do. It's all from consciousness. Rule number 1 of the Kybalion, all is mind. In some way, it comes from the consciousness of real beings. If that is not factored into your equation, you're lost. Every empirical study, and what is this, and what is the heliocentric, and geo, all out there. It's all out there. It's all out there. It's all out there. If you don't factor in, it all comes from mind, from us in some way. Maybe not entirely, but if that is not a major factor in your equation, you're lost. I don't expect these guys in the past in 1500 in their bedpans and shit to know what we know today, because it's given itself away. I'm not smarter than these people. They didn't know. They just kept doing their same dumb experiments. So it's very simple what was in the last section. Okay, this is related. Descartes' philosophy also involves a dualistic view of reality, distinguishing between mind and matter. Right now we're going, oh, sounds pretty good. But let's see what it says. The material universe governed by physics and mechanics is separate. Oh, no. Is separate from the realm of thought and consciousness. No, not separate. One and the same. One is derived from the other in some way. And I know this is simplifying it, and somebody that really knows Descartes, well, Matt, he didn't really believe that, and his whole thing was about mind. And I'm getting a sense that even quantum physics, the thinking about quantum physics, came from some of Descartes' pondering. And this was a smart dude. Okay, but I didn't go off to Paris and spend months in the damn catacombs with the skulls all around me, reading all his old shit. I didn't spend that much time on it. But he basically, I can only go by what it says here. If you're trying to separate the material universe governed by physics and math and mechanics, separate from the realm of thought and consciousness, no, I'm sorry. They're not separate. It's one and the same. In fact, one is derived from the other. One can't exist without the other. Look at this. It's some sort of a fresco representing that first date that I spoke of just a few minutes ago. Let me read this page here. This is pretty interesting. Because he, Rene, had no coherent theory of gravity. The Cartesian universe was made up of swirling vortices. The Cartesian universe is Rene Descartes' model of the universe. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Rene had no coherent theory of gravity. Rene, if you're listening to me from the grave, yeah, I know you're listening to me. I've got good news. It's 2025. I'm speaking to you from 2025, and guess what? They still have no clue. They have no idea they have no idea what gravity is. They know there's large bodies and small bodies, and they got mathematical models to predict the motion of planets and when the damn Halley's Comet's going to come back. That doesn't mean they have no idea what gravity is. So Rene, you didn't know, but nobody knows. So they don't know today, and it's like over 500 years later. You should feel very proud. And right now, the first grade truthers are rising up out of the bathwater, throwing rubber duckies. Electric universe. Man, they understand. We understand. Electric universe. Electric universe. Oh, it's still out. It's still trying to understand what's out there. You're just using electric universe and your bullshit to replace the science bullshit. Talk to me about consciousness role, and I'll pay attention. Don't spout off to me like a third grade truther about electric universe. Fuck your electric universe. It says here, swirling vortices. The Cartesian universe from Rene Descartes, composed of swirling vortices, rather like whirlpools of matter. It was a model of the universe accepted until ruthlessly demolished by Sir Isaac Newton. Descartes also established the influential idea of primary and secondary qualities. I'll read you a bit about each of them in just a moment, but his ideas of how the universe operated, ruthlessly demolished by Isaac Newton. Just a larger-than-life figure for Naughton-Ilk, of course, because he's putting all of it into math and all of it into modern scientific calculation. and evidence from experiments, and to forget the occult, forget the mysticism, put it all into math. It's all out there. You are not a spiritual being. All that stems from Newton, whether he was trying to or not, and the Big Bang, and it probably didn't even, the cosmos, it probably didn't even exist the way we know it now. It probably formed into what we know now based on the consciousness of real spiritual beings being brainwashed by the likes of Newton and what is astronomy and all that. It probably was completely different back in the day. So, of course, a person like, they took what they could from Descartes. And I'm not, from what I haven't spent, again, months in the catacombs, but it seems like they might have just stolen a lot of his big thinking, that he really wasn't an active puppet for Not-Nilk. But I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe I should give Isaac Newton a pass and they stole from him. But it's always a push towards more math and more scientific experiment. And any mysticism taken out of it, or Descartes' spinning vortices, or astrology, or alchemy, all that slowly removed, all the real truth slowly removed over the ages, so you're just left with the pure empirical science and math. And how pathetic is that? How much farther can one get from the truth than that? Descartes' primary and secondary qualities. The primary quality of corpuscles, he's basically calling them like atoms, or the fundamental building blocks of the universe. Primary qualities are their measurable mathematical properties, such as extension and motion, which are intrinsic to the corpuscles themselves. This is, basic scientific measurement, predicting when Halley's Comet will come back, experiment, math, etc. Most basically, his primary qualities, what science promotes today. This is more interesting. The secondary qualities, like small and color, are those that result from the corpuscles, C-O-R-P-U-S-C-L-E-S, acting on our human senses, and so are always subjective and uncertain. Doesn't the quantum principles come in there? Subjective and uncertain. The uncertainty principle of quantum physics and superposition and all that. Did they get that from Descartes? Did they steal it from him? See, what they did was just carry forward with the primary qualities and can tell people that's all there is. And secondary qualities, and people wondering about the more mystical, occult aspects, the things that we dabble in here, of course, all that's slowly removed over the centuries by Not-Nilk. Doubt is the origin of wisdom, attributed to Rene. Thank you very much for that, Rene. Boy, if that still applied today, let's just say 2020, C the V, doubt is the origin of wisdom. I'm not sure it's what they say it is. I'm not sure we'd be running to get all these jabs and boosters, punky boosters. I think we should slow down here, and this is just somebody that doesn't even investigate truth, just a normal person. Oh, you trust the science. This fool over here, everybody look, this, everybody pointing. This fool doesn't trust the science. He's one of those people. But wait, before you pull out your torches and pitchforks, Rene Descartes has said, doubt is the origin of wisdom. You doubt the science and Dr. F? Get him! Here's something that's very admirable and in Descartes' favor. Descartes maintains that our human sense organs are often unreliable as sources of true knowledge. Although he never doubts that we do have sensory experiences, we have no way of knowing for sure what causes them. Now, Pootie Tang Award, this is all stuff we've heard our entire lives, but back in the 1600s, this was probably pretty radical thought. Truly doubting the senses was not as accepted as it is today. Good job, Rene. And to close, we certainly have to spend time on what he was most famous for, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. By going through the process of rigorous doubt, doubting everything, Descartes eventually discovered something rather extraordinary. What he realized was that there was always one thing that he could never doubt, the fact that he was doubting and thinking in and of itself. And thinking just can't happen in midair. There has to be a consciousness or a mind doing the doubting. So Descartes can't doubt that he exists either. Hence the famous cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am, or perhaps more accurately, there are thoughts, so there must be a mind. So it seems that he went through this phase, doubt everything, doubt all the science that you've been told, start from scratch, and everything start over, which is great advice. I mean, sure, throw everything out, start over, doubt your own senses, sure, but at some point he kind of hit a wall. Well, I can't doubt my own thinking. I mean, that is the final wall that he came up against. Continuing, as soon as you try to doubt the cogito part, cogito, you confirm it. You confirm it by the doubt. It is a truth that has no dependency on the senses, and even more remarkably, it is also immune from the attentions of the invisible demon. That's another big topic regarding the invisible demon regarding Descartes that I glossed over. I'm not going to get into. Again, this guy's done so much. I mean, overall, I'm pretty impressed. Throw everything out, start from scratch, don't trust your own senses. I mean, this person was used by the Not-Nilk. They took many things from him, of course, but in terms of the Fool-osophers we've really dived into, this one, Descartes is impressing me more than many of the others, which are true. The others, maybe you know, I'm sorry to say Fool-osopher, or even title this video the way I'm going to title it. That was wrong, Rene, and I'm going to change my ways regarding the way I think about you. You know, again, all of this thinking before the internet, before when we knew nothing about it. I mean, talk about being way ahead of his time. I mean, Rene, if you're listening, we have advantages. I mean, again, like I've said it a million times, we have all these advantages today that you didn't have. And, you know, I wouldn't be thinking in any way like you're thinking if I lived back in your day. I'd be just trying to shovel a hole or something, trying to plant seeds. Or, I mean, so this guy was way ahead of his time. And I don't feel a huge Not-Nilk puppet here. I feel, of course, the Not-Nilk took from him and used him and will praise him, but I don't get the same sense. But how would I know, right? Just from spending of you know several days reading some of his works, I certainly haven't done much more than that. So Rene, for now, we'll give you a pass. Good job, big guy. Good job, big guy. If you were alive in our time, Rene, boy, would you you would see it. You'd see if you saw what we saw. My goodness. And if you could see what maybe through the grave right now, you're seeing it per this little whatever we're doing here. We're talking to you. Maybe you are seeing it, and you would be shocked at what is called the modern world. Thank you, Rene, and thanks everybody for listening.